Just put remove, I guess. We're on. Hi, everyone.
Hey. Pretty awesome. Thanks for joining. First show, we give us a little bit of grace. We're kind of going through the learning period still and getting everything set up. So I know we were excited to get approached by Voice of College Football, thanks to T and her social media presence, of which I am a coat-tailer for sure. We kind of want to just start off with introducing ourselves. I'll let T lead that off.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So some of you follow me, some of you don't. That's okay. My name is Tyranny. I know it's a lot of confusions. A lot of people call me Kristen or TK, but it is Tyranny. And been a OU football fan my whole life, an OU fan my whole life. I graduated with my master's degree from OU in speech pathology in 2020. So I was very, very proud to have that stole that said Live On University. And it basically just solidified Sooner for life for me. And I'm really excited to be here with my husband, who's also a big OU fan. So that's kind of a double bonus in this marriage. So
yeah. So I'm Chad, Tyranny's husband, like she said. And the easiest way to remember her name is it's like the government, like Tyranny. So not any way, shape, or form a resemblance of our marriage or anything, but it's a good way to remember. So my name's Chad. I graduated from Oklahoma Baptist undergraduate, and then went to law school at OU and just graduated recently. And I'm an attorney now at a oil and gas firm, and I do more so plaintiff's work. Been an OU fan my entire life, as long as I've known T as well. Played golf there for about a little over a year, then finished Oklahoma Baptist as well. So have a little experience in the athletic department there. And it was really kind of a life-changing experience to kind of not only be a fan there, but to kind of go to the university and really just feel like you're part of it now instead of just a fan that just kind of didn't have any sort of connection in that way. But either way, either or. So I know that I think you said you had some questions.
Yeah, so we asked some of you guys if there's anything you wanted to know about us. So I'm going to pull up some of those questions. We won't answer all of them, but we'll try to answer as many as we can. Okay, so let's see. The first one is from Mr. Phil Lawson. He asked, what is our first Sooner memory?
Do you remember yours?
Man, when you've been fans your whole life, it all kind of runs together. I was trying to think about this one of what mine would be.
Mine would be, so my dad he coached there. He coached at OU in the 90s. He's on our spaces on Tuesdays too. He goes coach, and we used to go to practices. He was able to get us into practices a lot. He was good friends with Merv Johnson. So I think going to practices when I was young, I mean, I was at the 77-0 game against A&M. I was at the, I remember Adrian Peterson running over one of our former Ardmore players. I'm not going to name, but remember those games. There was a lot of them that when we were young. Ryan Wurs, who's a Twitter profile that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. I went to a lot of games with him and his father growing up. So they were nice enough to take me, and so a lot of my memories are with them, and then also with basically with T being there as well.
I was there too. Mm-hmm. Again, like a lot of my memories when I was little revolved around just memories we made with like family and friends. But I remember specifically, this might be my earliest memory, was I had an Oklahoma Sooner jersey, number 9. And I remember my dad telling me it was Mark Clayton. And we went to a game and he scored a touchdown. I don't know who we were playing. I don't remember any of that, but I remember specifically Mark Clayton scored a touchdown. And I looked at my dad and I was like, Dad, that's the guy on my jersey. That's the guy on my jersey. And I was just so excited because I felt like a rock star for like wearing his jersey. So that was probably one of my earlier memories, but they really just do all run together. And a lot of those games I was there with Chad, with my family and my brother, and he and my brother are really good friends. So we have a lot of memories together growing up, either going to the games or watching them at our family's houses. So
when I was super young, we had, again, Ryan and I, we would sneak down to the end of like right behind the bench. And those cameras where you had to like crank you only had like 12 photos. They were disposables. I had a picture of Rhett Bomar taking a practice snap with Sam Bradford in the background, and I can't find it for the life of me. And it was arguably my favorite picture of all time. Yeah,
so
T don't believe me. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We've already answered this one from Kenneth Matthews. Says, how long have you been a Sooner fan? Forever. But he asks, who is our favorite Sooner? Ooh.
Sam Bradford for me.
Okay, so Sam Bradford made my 8th grade heart just pitter patter. And so he has a very special place in my heart, but I really love Baker. Who doesn't?
Yeah,
All of
that's
us
tough.
sinners, we all love Baker Mayfield. So that's probably my
Who's your
favorite.
second?
Sam Bradford.
Jacob Gutierrez. You know who that is?
No.
Yeah, running back number 21. I know some people watching remember who Jacob is. He's a good
Sorry.
player.
I'm not as good with
Matt Clapp,
the
another great
memory
one.
as much as you
Another
are.
great player. Built like I am, just muscular and scary looking.
And
But, yeah.
fast and
Yeah, all that.
strong.
Yeah.
All the things. Let's see. From David Edwards, what are both of your favorite or coolest pieces of Sooner memorabilia?
I won this helmet earlier this year from the OU Sooner Insiders people.
Yes.
Yeah, great people. I've never won a giveaway in my entire life, and somehow I won that, and that's probably it. It's pretty sweet.
My newest favorite is my signed Barry Switzer shirt because it happened totally by accident. It was at the very top up there. We had him put it on display. We met him in a suite, and I was starstruck because I wanted to meet Coach Switzer forever and didn't know if I'd ever get an opportunity. And so we met him, and I did not want to bother him for anything. I didn't want to bother him for a picture or an autograph. And well, I was wearing that Barry Switzer shirt, and he goes, "Hey, that's my shirt." And somebody was like, "Let's take a picture of you guys with that." And I was like, "Thank you so much for someone else initiating that because I want to hold on to that picture forever." Yeah. And then the game kind of went on and finished, and a woman who was in the suite was passing me on the way out, and she was like, "Hey, do you want Coach to sign that shirt for you?" Duh. And I was like, starstruck again. I was like, no way this is happening. And she's like, "Sure, if he's still here, like, let's get him to sign it." And I said, okay. And so got him to sign it. And so it immediately went into a shadow box, and it is my new favorite, if you can't tell.
Well, it's like, talk about someone who just knows how to recruit. Like, it was like he was in his prime again, right when we walked in, and like, we're relative nobodies in that room, and there's like coaches and former players. Joe Washington was in there, and I mean, even at like we're at his age now, you felt like you had known him forever. So, like, makes sense why he was such a good recruiter, like, especially back when he was going at it every day.
Absolutely. Okay, this is a fun one from Cody Elwood, asking, what position did I play in basketball? I was a shooting guard. And then follow-up question, who is the better baller, you or Chad?
All right, so here's the thing. It depends on what you mean by better, because if we play one-on-one, she's getting dubbed 10-0. And I don't have pride at all. I care about winning and W's only. So she's getting taken to the block because she's 5'3" and I'm 6'4". Now, if you're talking about who's actually better for, it's not even really a conversation, because she's a Hall of Famer now. She just got inducted, so she had a game where she had like 9 threes and 49 points. I had maybe 49 points my entire high school career. So, but yeah, no, if it's just one-on-one, she doesn't want that. She's not. She knows.
No. Last time we played, I was winning, and he kept trying to say next point wins. Allegedly. And guess who kept getting the next point? Well,
I think I ended up winning and scoring the last point. So just about commitment, about knowing, you got to stay with it and never giving up. So that's the lesson to be learned from there. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. He has no mercy. It's fine. Our future children.
Well, the problem is I'm a sore loser. So it's just, I can't, like, I'm going to get a little upset. So I'm going to do, anything I can to just, win.
Yeah.
And T's much better at getting over those kind of things than I am. So,
I matured in my old age.
Yeah. And I'm not in mine.
Okay. Last question, which was also from David Edwards. What are our bucket list away games, conference or non-conference, that we would like to travel to watch the Sooners? And we went to our one for this year.
Yeah, we went to the Ole Miss game. By the way, I don't know if you've seen this. Any Ole Miss fans, no offense. The Grove is unbelievable. It's better than advertised. It's almost like there's one single roof for 300 yards because there's so many tents set up. So many. And there's music playing. The fans are unbelievably nice. The stadium, my gosh. I mean, again, no offense. I just think we are really lucky to have what we have at Oklahoma. It was and they may have improvements coming down the pike. I don't know, but I'll just say not impressed with it. But again, it's a great environment in terms of just who the fans and all of that. So that was fun to see. But
Right.
what'd you think?
I mean, I agree with you. The Grove is definitely unbelievable. The fans were super nice. They were inviting us into, their tailgates and things like that. And that is what we wanted. We decided this year that we would have liked to go to more away games, but it just didn't work out. But we were like, Old Miss, set it, clock it, we're going there. So we did. It was unfortunate. It was an 11 a.m. game though. But definitely underwhelmed with the stadium. I was really kind of underwhelmed with crowd overall, but again, could have been because it was 11 a.m. game. But the fans were awesome. As far as coming up, I would say I really would like to go to Neyland.
Yeah, it was going to be.
I would like to go to Tennessee.
Alabama would be Alabama. I would love to go to LSU, but I've heard some things that aren't the most encouraging. So maybe that might not ever be.
Yeah. So to all of you Sooners going to LSU,
yeah,
Godspeed.
Yeah,
and let us know how that goes. I think the Swamp maybe. I think that would be our tops, nice, Tennessee, Alabama, the Swamp. Yeah. I'd go to Vandy just to go back to Nashville, but those are probably our dream destinations. All right, well, a little about us. If you have any other questions along the line or throughout videos, feel free to DM us, comment to us. We'll try to answer them the best we can. So yeah, we're going on to the next bit.
Yep. So I know that this is probably where it's going to get fun and interesting. Thoughts on the year so far? I have
many.
Yeah. I mean, this thing would go on for 3 hours if I gave you thoughts on it. Where do you want to even start?
So in the 1994, I was born, and I was born as a Sooner fan, and that's where we're going to start. Just kidding. Okay. Not that far back. Man, where would we start this year? Honestly, we could start in fall camp because it seemed like that's just where it started. Like the excitement was there, but then we started having some injuries.
Almost a biblical kind of injury for our team. So I guess we can just go to the what everyone's talking about. The Brent Venables coaching carousel or decisions he's going to have to make. On the Brent Venables discussions, there are a lot of people talking about fire Brent, he's not getting the job done. I am of the opinion, and I've argued this a couple times before. It's hard for me to really judge right now BV in terms of success, only because I don't know another team. And I looked at Florida's injuries earlier today, and what he's dealt with this year is I don't think any head coach has ever dealt with in the history of college football. When I'm judging coaches, for me, I look at, is what's happening on the field a direct result of what you are coaching or what you are doing? And if so, then you start looking at changes or what you need to get done in terms of improving. I don't know how, unless he is directing medical staff or something, how injuries have happened on our offense. We have at some point 8 starters out at different times. We've had I think 8 or 9, I think 8 starters that have been starting a game at OU have missed a game for an injury. That's over 80% of your starters have all missed games due to injury. I looked at Texas today. They didn't have any that I noticed besides the CJ Baxter injury from earlier in the year or before the year. Florida has a lot, but again, Florida's are dispersed between their defense and offense. So they have 4 on offense, 4 on defense maybe. And even of those, one was a second string running back. And ours are all starters. I mean, it's just not even last game, you're missing your number 1 and 2. So for me, the BV thing is it's tough because even in 2022, if you remember, he didn't get to go to the portal until almost the end of the December cycle. So you just rush to get a roster field after everyone's transferring out. And then you have to go through spring ball just to find out really where your needs are, because you're not really sure what you even have. And so he was behind the 8 ball in a way that phrase, that cliche almost doesn't do it justice. And for me, it's just, I look at that and I think, all right, that for me is a wash year because it was just trying to field a team. He has 1 year where we're all healthy and everyone's available and we go 10 wins. And then the year ended, obviously not how we wanted. And then this year, it's hard. I just don't know. I don't know where the line between judging him harshly and saying, one thing that bothers me, and then I'll let T go, and I have a problem with getting on a soapbox, which is she's an angel and doesn't, just lets me kind of vent. one thing that always bothers me when I hear people talk about Oklahoma is they'll say that Oklahoma's team, Oklahoma is this, Oklahoma is this. Listen, it is not the Oklahoma team right now. It's just not. None of us, no one really knows what we would be right now if everyone could play. And that sounds like a cop out and an excuse, but it's a reason why we're struggling. You miss the best players on your offense, you're not going to be as good. And I think that filters down into every aspect of it. I think it's hurt Jackson. I think Jackson has ghosts right now, similar to Caleb in Chicago. I think that even when he has a clean pocket, you can see the effects of earlier this year where he didn't trust it. Even though the offensive line is playing better, they're getting better. We hear Gabe and Teddy and them talk about it all the time. They are getting better, but it's tough whenever you have dealt with something so long that it just becomes, it's almost like a tick where just human nature says, I got to survive here. And I'm worried about where I'm going to get hit. And so he's pushed, I think a little bit of it, he's getting in his own head about making sure he's safe. Now, doesn't excuse the ball just flying out of your hand. He's obviously made mistakes that he shouldn't make. And I'm not excusing that at all. I'm just saying, like, what are the actual foundational issues that you have to change? And for me, like with the BV talk, firing BV, first off, you couldn't afford it, but it's just kind of made it for me a little bit of it's annoyed me a little bit because it's just not who we are. Bit. Yeah,
a little bit. You should see him when he's really annoyed. His rants are much longer. So my biggest thing with that is I've gone to the ladies clinic. I see how much these players truly love Coach Venables and how highly they speak of him and what a great recruiter he can be. He has that Switzer energy. Like he feels like he's known you your whole life. I went to the ladies clinic. I went to the Rudy's and he recognized me immediately. And I'm nobody. He's not trying to recruit me. And he was immediately recognized that where he had seen me and met me. And my fear would be losing the recruiting class. Truly. And then we're going to be starting all over. And then we're still 3 or 4 years behind even more. I was telling Chad, I was like, we were predicted to win 6 games this year, period. We've almost got that with literally none of our offense. Imagine just for a second, if we had our offensive players back, like easy, like I don't understand. I mean, I understand the frustrations. Don't get me wrong. I understand, getting our hopes up and we kind of see it collapse. I do get that. And I can understand even some of the coaching people having their, I don't know, like their criticisms for like the coaching decisions, but even having your players and the personnel you have changes the way that you think and the way that you coach. So I just know he's in a really tough spot, but at the end of the day, we're very realistic. Maybe because we both did play sports, we try to be more analytical and kind of set the emotions aside. We will be very emotional and that's just human nature, but we try to sit back and think about it more analytically and like, okay, if we do this, then what happens? Or if, oh, you did that, then what happens? And things of that nature. But that's still not to say nobody likes to lose. Losing stinks. And I guarantee you nobody on that team hates it more than those players and those coaches. But on the positive thoughts of this season, I've enjoyed watching our defense for the most part, obviously. They're tough. They are gruesome. Is that a word? I mean, I meant like, is that appropriate? Maybe not gruesome, but you know what I'm saying. I generally enjoy it and never thought I'd see that again at OU. I'm very, very thankful for Danny and Billy coming back and giving us one more year. I hate that the offensive side of the ball just collapsed the way it did for them, but they have truly given everything. And you see that. I think Danny had 19 tackles the last game, something insane. And so I'm very thankful for them, and I'm definitely going to miss them. But the foundation for the defense is there. These young guys come in, and they're just as mean. They're just as tough. And that makes me excited going forward with that side of the ball for sure. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate that.
And for the players returning on defense next year, I'm hoping they get all their offensive players back so we can truly see what we have, because we're going to play the same schedule just in reverse next year. So gives us hopefully a chance for some revenge. Fingers crossed.
So David asked about what do we think of the QB situation and future of them for 2025, and then the OC bringing in for another QB competition. For me, the quarterback position is so dependent on trust in who you have around you. And if you look back at like what Jackson dealt with in the even spring game and then moving into fall, like the receivers he had he practiced with every day, that he had a lot of like was familiar with and had confidence in chemistry. Yeah. Just kind of they were all gone. And for me, like I wanted to see a little bit of the work and a little bit of him kind of being able to have that same chemistry with receivers that were lower on the depth chart. But offenses also, like, the best offenses, they look like they're pass heavy, but like Lincoln Riley, Sarks, their offenses are based on the run. And when you can run the ball well, it opens up everything, because you can't play too high, you can't play deep, you can't just play, and you can't just not worry about that whole aspect of the game. We don't, right now we've struggled with the threat of even running, with the threat of even especially a deep throw or deep threat at all. Even though I think we have guys that can be that for us, we just struggle with that. And so for quarterbacks, it's been hard for me because of what they've dealt with. Now, the turnovers that Jackson has, I think, are partly due to, now not wholly, but I think genuinely partly due to him thinking that he has to press and make a play. So I'm a golfer. So, like when you're playing golf and you feel like you're not playing well and you need to make birdies to get your score lowered and all that, you start trying to hit shots, right? You start trying to hit. I mean, if you played baseball and pitched, you start aiming the ball to throw a strike or shooting.
Three,
yeah.
If I thought about it, I wasn't going to make it.
Right. And when you start doing that, things just weird things start happening that usually don't, because you're forcing things that you shouldn't be. And for me, I see Jackson doing that a lot. Instead of playing free and instead of playing like, I think he has the talent to play.
I think they both do.
Yeah. No, yeah. Same with Michael Hawkins. He's a true freshman. And so he made some true freshman mistakes, and I'm not going to, fault him for that. That you learn that through experience. Sam Bradford didn't play as a true freshman. Even Baker had a good freshman year at Texas Tech, but they all came with experience. Caleb Williams is really the last quarterback that was a true freshman that we had, that was like a game changer his first year at OU.
Right.
And even then, you look at what those teams had around him. He had NFL guys everywhere. Like he had a Mims, he had a Kennedy Brooks, some really good offensive linemen. And you look right now, and even on our offensive line that's playing better, you look at the injuries we've had. Jake Taylor being out, with the Hickman starting the year, Everett starting the year, Hatchett being out, Hatchett having to start the season with a torn bicep. I mean,
Sexton went out in Ole Miss.
Yeah.
They're just dropping like flies, clearly, how we just named them out.
Yeah, and for me, it's tough for the new deal for the quarterbacks right now. For the new OC, I really, I know the Dan Mullen talk is out there. Dan Mullen would be, I think, really good. He had some great offensive mind. Obviously, he's pretty renowned for that. He struggled at Florida, I know, and probably that's a holdup for a lot of people. Is the recruiting issue he had there? Give or take, a lot of times it's your for a coordinator, it's your position coaches that do the heavy recruiting. Right. And then a coordinator will be there and kind of maybe be the final sell, or, if they need to go, they will. But your position coaches develop a lot of the relationships and a lot of can kind of see what kind of players need to fit your system and know where to go get those guys. So I think we have really good recruiters in our positional coaches. Tease Metalmall, so I'm sure she can tell you about how they are even in person. But I think that Dan Mullen would be great. I think that Ben would be, really good too. He's obviously done really well. He's young though. The Washington State offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, but he's, I think, 28. So he graduated high school in 2014. So just think how wild that is. Yeah. I was reading about him a little earlier. Yeah. But he looks like, obviously he has a great offense. They score a lot. Does that transfer to the SEC? I don't know. That's going to be a decision Brent's going to have to make.
I think mine, you kind of touched on everything, and we talk a lot about this stuff at home, which is why recording it kind of helps, because we've already talked about it. So now we just record it. But for the future for them in 2025, I hope we can retain one. If we could retain both, that would be great. Unfortunately, it has been a tough year. So I could understand if one wanted to go find another home. That would be a loss for OU. They're both extremely talented. But what I hope doesn't happen is I hope we don't lose both. That is just my biggest fear. I would not like to lose both quarterbacks, unless I guess the new OC brought in an all-star, but there's nobody really off the top of my head that would be, as a possibility to coming into OU. But you would expect a new OC to bring in a new their quarterback anyway. Usually they would follow them, but whatever they do, I know it's going to be what they think's best for them, but I'm hoping that OU doesn't lose them. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Another question.
And then I know that
somebody mentions Xavier Robinson. Kid is a tank, by the way.
Yeah.
Very impressed with that freshman. He's strong. He's shifty. Yes. Will be available Saturday and is open to not redshirting. Okay,
Big.
Harry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be fantastic news because he is talented, which makes me question why we didn't see him earlier. But I understand, too, you have talent ahead of him, and Javonte Barnes has gone off. But
some people are just gamers, so they get in a game and they're just a different level, and maybe that's what happened there.
Yeah, my biggest thing with him is I've seen him make blocks, and that's something that I see consistently, like a lot of our running backs and tight ends and receivers missing blocks, and like for him to act, I'm like, oh hey, he just made a block there for Jackson. Sorry, blanked out there. Like that's impressive to me. On top of the fact that like he is so strong and he's probably 18 and playing in like a really tough division with some big linemen out there. So I've been very impressed with X. And I think Taylor Tatum has gotten better. I think he's finding the gaps better. Very shifty, also very quick. Do worry about ball security with him as well. Just not feeling that he's as strong, but definitely uber talented. I hope Barnes is back because he was really playing like a really good leader and really well. So yeah, I just hope we get some of our guys back.
Yeah,
truly. That's just what I want. And speaking of getting our guys back, we just want to shout out to Jalil Farouk and Deion Burks because they worked hard to come back for that Missouri game, and they were playing not for a playoff championship or a playoff appearance. Like they were playing just to hopefully get us bowl eligible. And they pushed themselves, and Deion nearly got decapitated there at the end. So to have that toughness and that heart to come back and play in a game that quote unquote doesn't matter. I know they all matter. We're competitors. That's not what I'm saying. Like that shows a love for Oklahoma, and I respect that. And I hope that they are okay. If we don't see them the rest of the year due to re-injury and concussion protocol, like I understand, but just a lot of love and respect for those two.
Yeah, for me, that kind of ends the whole. They're holding out just because they're for any selfish reasons that were rumored. That it shows different kind of toughness. I think, like T's saying, to come and not only that, but to injure. You risk injury, you risk all of that for the chance at a bowl game. And at Oklahoma, that's just that's not a special season for us, and it's something that if you were going to wait and not come back because of a selfish reason, that would be this would be the perfect season to do that. It does make me wonder, and obviously I have no experience at all in medicine or anything like that, but it's weird to me that we have, for whatever reason, an ability to not have anyone return from injury at all. Like it just seems like there are other teams that get injured, and I'm kind of repeating a little bit what I've heard from other like streamers or people that cover the team. It just seems like there's something going on there, and I don't know what that is, and it's probably fair enough. That's a little vague for me to bring up and not have really a reason why I'm even saying it, but I just think that I just think there's genuine questions, and I genuinely don't like that I'm just asking questions thing. But it really is weird that from all the teams around, either they've gotten extremely unlucky as well, but for whatever reason we're just not healing like I feel like other teams are able to, especially when you look at a Texas or Alabama or Georgia, teams that deal with injuries and are physical teams. They have physical practices. They can come back, it seems, in a way that is much quicker, and they're able to produce as well whenever they come back.
And come back and stay back, not come back and re-injure.
Oh, sorry. She asked about coming with the Washington State with the quarterback. What do you think of that team?
I have no idea what you just said.
Ben Arbuckle bringing his quarterback with him from Washington State.
Who?
I like our quarterback. I don't think you need to. Really.
That's why I go to. I'm like, I can't really think of any quarterback that would be coming back next year as even a possibility to come to OU. And I truly think our two guys are talented. They just need a quarterback coach, better faith in their teammates, or just not to be in their head thinking they're going to get pancaked. And then just being more confident. They have the talent. It's clearly there. It's just the tsunami of issues surrounding it that I think a new OC, a true quarterback coach, which I know we've we have one now. I don't know if he will be the one going forward. It's not my call, not my business, but I don't know.
Well,
I trust Brent Venables, and whoever he brings in, then.
Well, and it seems like you and for quarterbacks, you don't necessarily need to have just this all worldly talented quarterback if you have a scheme that fits him and works well. I mean, that's the Quinn Ewers at Texas thing. It's not Quinn's not a world beater. He's not going to just amaze you with talent. But what he does well is he runs his system really well and Sark schemes to his quarterback's talents,
Same
right?
with Stetson Bennett.
Same with Stetson Bennett, yeah. And so like when you watch Texas, and this is another thing where losing your receivers comes in and it's even a double effect, because when you do the jet sweeps or when you do the bubble routes and you're trying to spread a defense out wide, those plays work and become explosive because your receivers can block. And they can block typically whenever they get older, more experienced, because wide receiver blocking is all about angles. And you got to understand the speed of the game, where defenses are located, and that comes with experience. So now you have not only true freshmen trying to block, but you also are having to move your more experienced players to other positions that they originally weren't going to be doing in the first place.
And I remember in a podcast that Nick Anderson and Kaden Helms did, Nick Anderson mentioning in high school, like he didn't understand like defenses or like the different calls. Like there was stuff he did not understand that he had to learn as a receiver, and all these guys are learning that on the fly. So I can definitely see where that's a difficulty. Do you want to get to Jonna May?
I didn't know. Hey, Jonna, thank you so much for that. That's awesome. She says, welcome to the big time. Thank you. How do you think they will manage the quarterbacks for the last 2 regular season games? I think Jackson will start both, I would assume. I would think. I
would think as well. If Jackson has an early turnover, maybe they put in Hawkins, but we wanted to disclose now, we are not insiders. We are not at practices. So best we can do is just make our guesses. So there are people who are insiders that maybe they can give some more information on that, unless it's a secret.
Yeah, and I would love to know how they're thinking about, if you could talk to Micah and Jackson, because even if they start Jackson in the year and Micah doesn't play, I mean, it would basically be the position they were in to start the season, where Michael come back next year and get another year of development with Jackson finishing next year, and then Michael have 2 years after that to play. So I'm hoping that we don't just start doing the switching back and forth like the Spurrier thing that he used to do.
Right.
Because I just think you got to go with one of them and really show that you trust them, and they have to feel free to make mistakes. I think part of it is they feel like they can't make a mistake out there, and so they're trying to play perfectly, and you just can't do that. You have to play free, and I just don't want a player on the field that thinks if I make a mistake right here, I'm going to be taken out of the game.
You're going to make a mistake.
Yeah,
every time,
and you're not going to be aggressive. You're not going to play with free. You're going to play to not make the dumb mistake, and that hurts not only the Jackson, but it hurts the team and everyone else too. So that would be kind of my take on it. I would stick with one, whoever it is, and just let them know, hey, I don't care what you do when you go out there. Well, I mean, you do care, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, but play free. Don't worry about trying to not make the mistake. If you throw a pick, at least throw it with conviction. Throw it like trying to make a play or something for the team. So, how do y'all feel about Bill Bedenbaugh? How Bedenbaugh is doing as the offensive line coach?
Oof.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to this line has suffered so many injuries. They're having to shift around to different positions. And these are kids having to learn a new role seemingly each week. And within that role is a new set of plays that you have to follow. And how do you truly solidify as being good at something if you're constantly changing where you're at and then what your role is during that play? He has a great class coming in. He's had great O-lines in the past. I think history has proven itself with Bill Bedenbaugh. This year's just a tough year overall offensively. It's just kind of my thought behind it. But
yeah, for Bedenbaugh, it's the way he works best when he has guys there for a few years and they're not just transferring in. He is hit in the portal with Guyton, with Anton Harris, and with Matt Matoyer from last year.
Yes.
And so it's not like it can't work, but I think Bedenbaugh works better when he can get guys that he knows has talent that maybe just haven't had the coaching at the high school level that he can provide, and he can make them really, really good. I think, Kel Gundy talked about that in one of the shows that he was on. And I think it's true. Building an offensive line through the portal, I don't know if it can be done consistently, because every team knows what OU knows now more than ever, is that it starts up front with offensive line. It's what Saban started at Alabama back in 07 whenever he took over. And it's what Kirby Smart's mimicked at Georgia. The offensive line, defensive line. And in college, you don't have to have just the all-world quarterback to be really good if you can figure out those two sides of the ball. So for me, I want Bill to have those young guys and to give them some years to develop them. And I think that would be better off for all of us, because you look at a team like Texas, they're really good on the offensive line this year, but 3 of those guys started as I think 3, I know 2 of them at least, started as true freshmen. And so now they're fourth-year seniors. I think they had all 5 starters back this year, and they're all experienced. So now they're going into
machine.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
working together. They know their role.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they're going to do. They're confident.
And they have familiarity with each other. I mean, think about the timing when you're pulling or whenever you're blocking, down blocking, anything. All that's timing related. And whenever you go with the same people every day in practice and in games, it makes it that much easier. And then you look
at the same spot.
Right, exactly. And then you look at what we've dealt with, which I think we've had 12 iterations of an offensive line, 8 different starting offensive lines.
And I will give.
It's just brutal.
I mean, we are X's and O's people. If you're looking for X's and O's analysis, there are people out there for that. But like we do have opinions. But I've been impressed more with the offensive line because we've actually got a running game going. Is it spectacular? No, but is it better than what it has been? Yes. Xavier Robinson's finding holes and actually getting a gap. Same with Jason Tatum. We just watched the Thunder game last night. We were talking about basketball players. Yeah. Taylor Tatum. There's actually gaps there that they can run through. Whether or not they always see it, I don't know, but it's still there. And it's just a tough year. It's hard to really put a lot of weight into what's happening this year because it's just been on the offensive side of the ball. Anyways, I think Emmett Jones is fantastic as a receivers coach. You got your dogs out. They're just out. But I think from what we've seen with some of those guys, I mean, Jacob Jordan coming in as a true freshman walk-on and getting separation and not being afraid of getting hit. Like applause to him. We talk about Brennan Thompson all the time. And honestly, a downfall for him this year is that he's just too fast, because for him to get those long passes, he has to either he's already gotten there when you're getting sacked, or there's no time to able to get him the ball. And it just stings for him because that's a big part of his game, is being able to just beat people deep and go for it. And which granted, we haven't thrown it deep very often, but a lot of that does start with, you have to give them time for the receivers to actually run that way. But I don't know. I'm just not going to be too hypercritical. I will be fairly critical. I'll try to be as fair as possible without being overly emotional or overly critical on such a biblical catastrophic offensive year.
Well, and it's not trying to absolve Jackson or any of the quarterbacks from the mistakes they made at all. I just think that it's kind of a conglomerate of it's like a rich tapestry of just bad things that have gone on right now, and that's what it is. And for me, it's I really don't think Oklahoma's far off at all from being really, really good. I really don't. I think if you're healthy,
Did you just say we're close?
No, I did. I just don't think we're that far off. I mean,
I don't either.
We have talent out there. It's not being shown right now. And and again, I go back to what I said earlier about, it really bothers me when I hear people say, I didn't think Oklahoma would be this bad year 3. It's like, dude, we're missing 8 starters on one side of the ball. That's not Oklahoma's team out there. And we're injured. And I know the teams that say, look, you got to have depth. The people that say that are watching teams that don't lose 4, 5, 6 starters in 1 year. They're watching teams that have lost 3 to 4, and they have some guys come in that play really well, but they aren't dealing with losing 8 guys. I mean, and also year 3 after first year in which you didn't get to the portal until spring because your coach left you in November. I mean, it's just a completely different situation, and I think there are people that would rather just blow it up now, and I think in a way that would be astronomically detrimental to the team, and to not only that, but to the coaches and everyone else you have around you. in a way that would not do anything, that would not make you any better in the short term at all. Whereas now it's like, yeah, we're struggling on offense, but I mean, we don't know how good we'd be on offense.
We get all those people back
because
next year.
yeah, exactly. And you get a new OC with this different scheme, someone who we think can kind of, use the guys' talents the best of their ability. And I think you got a lot of stuff going, but yeah,
Move on to Alabama.
yeah, that stuff is just frustrating, I think. And I don't know. I had to vent on that.
We obviously have a lot of thoughts on this year.
No, and Drew's 100% right. Also a football coach. Good to see you. No, you're right. You're right. You can't turn it over. But I'll say this. My dad said this too. When you, for example, like the players, you can't be making some of the decisions Jackson has. But when you're dealing with younger players, the guys that aren't your starters or want first string, I'd say saying bad players, not bad, but your non-starters will make mistakes that your starters wouldn't, and some of that is ball control. They're not used to having that kind of hits. They're not used to that kind of speed. And, so it's just, it's hard for me. I just don't know how much of that, the turnovers and all that just stems from losing what we have. And, regardless though, it always helps to just say, yeah, it helps to just say, just get better. Yeah. Sorry. What was
I was again, just overthinking in general. Cause
Mhm.
if any of you've ever played a sport, if you think, oh, I can't mess up, you're going to mess up. You think I can't miss the shot, you're going to miss that shot. Like It's just how sports are. You have to play in the flow. You cannot be thinking out there, obviously within reason. But
Harry, this is 100% right. And I don't know who at Texas paid off the SEC. I don't care about their decade of being terrible. What they are getting right now, like there are gifts you get on Christmas. There's winning the lottery. There is, I don't know, almost passing away and almost seeing the gates of the pearly gates of heaven. And then there's what Texas got as a schedule this year, which beats it all. It's utterly shocking to me. We played every good team in the SEC, including Texas, and Texas hadn't played, and I hate saying this on OU stream, have they played one? They played Georgia, my bad. They played one team that is really good. And, it's just been unbelievable what they've gotten away with.
At home.
Yeah, they played them at home.
But to their credit, they still have won those games.
They have.
They have won those games. You have to win the game at the end of the day. My husband's just giving billboard material out here for people to bookmark them for. But no, we definitely have a tough schedule. And that's just not, it's just factual. At some point, 6 of the teams we played are in the top 10. So that's fun. But what a year to have, again, almost all of your offense out. It stinks. Just bad luck.
Well, and it's where we've struggled too. It's like, our offensive line has the injuries and struggles that they have. And on top of that, you're going to play South Carolina with the guy that's probably going to be a first overall pick in 3 years. Well, yeah. And you play Tennessee. Then you go play Ole Miss, who has a guy that's going to be probably top 5 pick, top 10, and Walter Nolan and Pegues. And I'm not even going to try to say Prince of Millie, whatever his last name is. That guy, he's really good too. It's exacerbated by the fact we played the most talented offensive lines in a conference that's known for having the best defenses in the country. And I just hate it for all of them. And I really do. It's tough. So, but yeah, no, you're right. They've gotten a great schedule. Young guys try to make plays.
Yep.
Yes. And and coach would know this too. Drew would know. It's not to excuse it. I mean, you still need to not make the mistakes as best you can.
And also at this level, these kids are used to out athleting everybody. And you can't do that at a D1 level. And you really can't do it if you're a young guy going against a third or fourth year who knows his role and knows his job with the training, the strength and conditioning. Like, it's just, you can't out athlete people.
Right.
And then you can't out athlete and you're overthinking. It's just a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. What do you think?
It's pretty good. That scheduling comp between OU and Texas. I produced a video on it. The composite SEC records in 2023 is almost a complete opposite. Wow.
Love that for us. Which we
wild.
knew going into it that it was going to be a tough schedule. But I think it's just kind of blown my mind truly how, as far as like the ranked teams we are literally playing.
And I agree. I agree. And imagine all the experience you're going to have next year after going through this, and you're going to have all those players back that are starters that are coming back next year.
Talk about depth.
And exactly. Now that's going to be, and that might be something that we don't even realize how valuable that's going to be until
blessing
next
in
year
disguise,
comes.
maybe.
Right. Who's the next OC? If I'd have put money on it, Dan Mullen.
We don't have money to put on it.
Yeah,
We're gonna put that out there.
we don't. Dan Mullen came out and said that he was going to he's taking head coaching calls. Part of me thinks that's him gaming a little bit of if they make a deal or not, wanting to get more money from from OU. Which, my gosh, could OU be more desperate on the negotiating table? I would. The thing, if I could pick between Dan Mullen and Ben Arbuckle, I like Mullen because one, he got Dak Prescott led team to number 1 in the NCAA, which if you do anything like that with Dak Prescott, you're gonna get all the accolades in the world from me. My family raised me as a Dallas Cowboy fan because being an OU fan wasn't painful enough. So I got to watch Dak do that, what he's done the last 8 years. So anyways, you get Dak Prescott to number 1 ever, you can be my coach. But also, I think he just has the experience that Brent needs, someone who's been in the SEC, been at Mississippi State, been at Florida, successful at both places, and really knows kind of what you need to have offensively to be successful. And I think Brent has to look at it as, he has to bet his career on this hire. And who is he going to trust? Ben Arbuckle, who's a young guy, might be the next big thing. I don't know. He maybe might be
Zach Alley.
Exactly. He might be the guy.
Protege.
And at the end of the day, if he trusts, And if he trusts that, then I'm all okay. If that's what he thinks. But Sooner Cap, I'm sure they are struggling. It's unbelievable. But I think if you got to plug the holes in the ship right now, it's sinking on offense. And who does that best? I think someone with experience that's been in the SEC that knows those teams. Won't be wowed by what Oklahoma has in terms of even facilities, or he'll be able to come in and say this isn't what works. This isn't what works in the SEC, and I am excited for something like that. Having said that, if it's Ben Arbuckle, then I'll slowly figure out why I think he's going to be the greatest offensive coordinator to ever exist. But so I think we can go to. There was one. Yeah, I hope Dominic Williams comes back too. I think he will. I think he's one.
I kind of think almost anybody that can come back needs to come back after this year. Period.
Into this one, I think they will, Harry. I think they'll come back. I think they know they like.
I think they know what they have.
Yeah, and
I think they know they have the talent. It's just been a crap year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they wouldn't unless a new OC came in and said bye, but that kind of seems lame.
Mm-hmm. We got Alabama coming up, and
they're not good at all.
Yeah, what do you heard of them before?
Yeah, I think I've heard that name. Like a Crimson Tide.
What do you got them doing?
Okay, so obviously Alabama's good. Not gonna X nose you because I couldn't if I wanted to. But I did watch the highlights of the Alabama LSU game because we were in the midst of our game at that time, so I really wasn't paying attention. That was obviously a not super close, and my thoughts on it is Jalen Milroe is good. He is confident. He's cool, calm, and collected. He was getting rushed, and it's just like nothing making a play. Or he had 4 rushing touchdowns, so dude can move. Which I'm excited to see our defense with a quarterback like Jalen Milroe that can run like that because we have been so good on the run. But also they have their weapons on the outside. They have Ryan Williams. It was like Jam Miller, maybe that was his name. He's a running back, but I mean, they're good. I just want to see a clean game from OU. If we can make it through a game without having 3, 4, 5 turnovers or near turnovers, I would be so happy. But I'm ready to see the matchup with our defense. This is going to be a really good challenge for them, in my opinion. And I really hope Danny has 19 more tackles. It's
going to be. I think OU can do well, especially whenever they're really good at stopping the run. The first thing you got to do is make them one-dimensional. OU does that really well. They're one of the best rushing defenses in the country, and they've controlled the offensive line. You hear Teddy talk about it a lot, and even people that aren't even familiar with what we have, they'll watch film on us, and I've seen on Twitter and coaches that'll tweet out. And I mean, we're really good up front. We really are. And the problem is making teams one-dimensional works really well when you present a threat to score offensively if they can't get things going on their own, on their offensive side of the ball.
Otherwise, they don't care.
Otherwise, you just they continue. They'll just bleed out the clock on us, and eventually Jalen Milroe will just bust one because he's that good. And it's going to be it's going to be a tough one. I think that if you can get the run game going like we have, because Alabama's good defensively. I don't know if they're going to be they're not going to be the best defensive line we've seen. Ole Miss will be the best interior defensive line we've seen for sure, and we were able to run the ball on them, and that was before even Walter Nolan got hurt. I think that if you can continue to run the ball well and just try to control the time of possession, you can present enough challenges for them defensively. I think Jalen Milroe will turn the ball over a couple times. He has an ability to force throws and press when he thinks he can't just escape with his legs and run, and we got to make it difficult for him to do that. Now, obviously, it's not been easy. He's got he's got I think more rushing yards. He's got like 500 rush yards, like 17. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But he's really good, and and if you can make him one-dimensional in a way that forces them to get in third and longs and him to throw the ball. So now we know we're in passing situations. You get R. Mason Thomas. You get those guys able to blitz, knowing that he's going to be dropping back. That'll also be a key. Whenever you rush, you don't want to go past the level of the quarterback because then they can just go upfield on you. So that'll be another key to watch out for early in the game, seeing as how we're going. And I don't know. I think that we can do well. I wouldn't if I had to put money on it. It'd be ridiculous. I think to say you predict OU to beat them with how we played so far this year. But I think OU has all the talent right now. We will
gaslight ourselves enough, and we will think of enough scenarios in our head that we will be confident. We will be there. We will be loud. We will be proud. And we're going to do our part as fans to make it more difficult on Alabama. What Chad said, I will say with Jalen Milroe, with the amount of pressure that we can get, I think obviously it can be there. With him is what I worry is that our second levels of defense, leaving them open for him to escape out of that pressure. And then, making a big play happen when it should have been a sack or it should have been a tackle for or behind the line of scrimmage or whatever, which is not a sack, is what I'm talking about, but whatever.
Yeah.
It should have been a loss of a play instead of, 15, 20, 30-yard play. So I'd really hope the secondary really kind of steps up there when there is pressure, making sure they're not allowing guys to get well,
and also last thing on that, saying that I don't think they'll win, I think they have the talent to win. I really do. I think that if they play well and if they just play within themselves, they have the talent to win the game. It's just you got to go based on what you've seen this year. And right now, it would just be hard to really pick them to win right now. But anyways, I think they will. I think they'll pull off the upset. I think they get two turnovers and almost score a touchdown on defense that does not get immediately turned over back to Alabama. So we're going to be going with that. Junior asks, or XR asks,
so who's XR?
Who's winning, Ethan Bowen or Ryan Williams?
He means Eli?
Eli Bowen, first off, XR.
I like the matchup, though.
I do, too.
Two young guys.
Yeah. It's always easier to say the receiver's going to win because they know where they're going beforehand, and playing cornerback is impossible. Yeah. There's one position I'm just not made for. It would be, besides running the Olympic 100-meter, which would be comparatively as funny. It is certainly that quarterback position.
Ankles, knees, toes, all that broken so quickly. No offense.
I'd be carted off the field. It wouldn't even be fun.
I like that matchup. Ryan Williams is going to make catches. It's going to happen. He's a playmaker. Eli Bowen, I'm hoping can bring him down, which he has shown he is capable. Hi, who starts Saturday at quarterback? We think Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold will start. I'm almost positive.
Unless there's early turnovers by him, we think that they're going to be with Jackson Arnold the rest of the year. Again, we are not insiders. This is our opinions based on what just we think. So
T's an insider. So get mad at tweet at her if Jackson doesn't start. T knows all the inside info.
Please don't.
She doesn't tell me. Will the students show up to this game? I think they will. I think Alabama coming to town is just a game everyone wants to watch anyways, but
Chad's more optimistic than me.
Yeah, I think they will.
But I hope so. It's a night game. It's a night game. It's not 11 a.m. It's a night game. Alabama's in town. I really hope so. I really like the atmosphere at Tennessee. I know it was earlier and we were fighting for more, but come on, fans. Like, we can do that.
Mhm.
I mean, just do your job. We can't affect the game in any way other than being loud and hoping to cause false starts or other infractions.
Penalties. Yeah.
Thank you. So if you're at the game, get your booty out of your seat, shake your pom-pom if we have it, yell loud. I hope you don't have a voice when you go to work on Monday morning. I'm a speech pathologist and rarely ever have my voice on Monday morning. So if I can do it, you can do it. My job is literally to talk. So
Harry asks, have y'all seen the stat about Alex and company getting turnovers, opposing team scores within 2 minutes?
yes.
Yeah. So the stat is, if you haven't seen it, every turnover in the SEC we've had, besides the pick six at Auburn and the scoop and score at Missouri, every turnover, the offense has given the ball back to the defense within 2 minutes of that turnover, which is almost an unbelievable stat, but it's true. They went back and looked, and then it's just,
it was fact checked.
Yeah, I mean, by everybody. That is, I don't know if that's ever happened in the history of football. And I'm going
at
back.
some points as a defense, how disheartening is that? Like, you're sitting there, you're doing your job, you're getting the stops, you're getting the turnovers.
Yeah.
For what? And that was kind of I was upset with Mizzou. We held them to 3 points. And talking about Drew Pine, whatever, I don't care. You held a team to 3.5 points. If we had our guys, if we had an offense, we're not up. What, 9-3?
Mm-hmm.
So 9-3 or 12-3?
9-3.
9-3. We're up 9-3. What in the Iowa Hawkeyes is going on? Like, so as a defense, like, you're hoping, like, when you're making those stops like that and holding a team to only 3 points, that your offense can score more than 9 or score a touchdown or 2.5, score a field goal. And so I give my props to the defense because I don't feel like I've ever just seen them give up, when in many ways you would not blame them for being like, for what? Like, why am I putting my body on the line for this?
Yeah.
So shout out to the defense. Keep getting turnovers.
I think the defense, the hate that they've gotten, I think our defense is really good. I think they'd be a top 5, top 10 defense, minimum top 10, if you just had any type of production on the other side of the ball. Because, like, and the mental fortitude it takes, like T's saying, to play for an offense right now that's struggling so bad. Because typically, like, turnovers and all that is exciting because you think you're giving it to an offensive side of the ball that has the chance to go score.
Right.
And right now, we're just hoping we don't have the chance to turn the ball over when we get the ball on offense.
Let's talk about, they held them to 3 points with a muff
punt. And it's
in their territory. They held them to that field goal.
Yeah.
And an impossible position.
Mm-hmm.
And they're constantly placed in impossible positions where the offense is turning over the ball on the other side of the field. And they're having to prevent them from scoring when they only have to go 30 yards.
Yeah, and that's people will look at the box score, and it's hard to argue with people that just do the box score thing, because numbers can lie if all you're going to do is say, like, people look and say, how do you give up 30 to Missouri? And it's like, we didn't. I mean, the offense gave up 7. Our offense scores against us on most, like, in the last few games we've had. Like, it's like they give 14 right to South Carolina. It's hard to win games whenever you are open, whenever you're not only turning the ball over, but, like, turning it over in a way that leads to immediate points for the other team. And it's
already struggling.
Yes, I mean, it just makes it difficult.
You're digging a hole, an almost impossible hole to get out of.
Yep.
But
who do you think's next OC? I think between what they're saying right now, if it's between Mullen and Arbuckle, if Mullen's not wanting a head coaching job, probably Mullen. I just think Venables, Joe Craddock at Tulane would be a good one too, because he has experience and familiarity with him. I just find it, I don't know if BV is going to want a young kid. I just don't know if a guy like Arbuckle comes in and is the immediate fix that BV is going to need next year. He's an attractive hire, I think. Like, he's something that's going to make people talk a lot, and the potential is there. But I think you need someone that's shown he can have success already in the SEC, and I think BV is going to want someone who has experience already coaching at that level. Craddock, he has familiarity with Clemson. And the Clemson trees worked well for Brent. I mean, Zach Alley, obviously Bates, Miguel Chavis, all those former Clemson coaches with him, or players for him. And so he has, that's one thing that might work in his favor, Craddock's favor, if that's still an option for him. But between the two, I think Mullen would probably be who I would go with if I have the option. If not with Mullen, then I would be happy to with Arbuckle.
I personally have no opinion. I trust BB's judgment.
All right. Do you want to do the?
So if you follow me more so than Chad, we have our little dog Zeno. He is a pocket beagle, so we wanted to include him in our podcast. So we are going to be doing Zeno's picks of the week. So once we can figure out how to get that video playing, we
are going to do that.
We're going to do that for you, but it might take a second. So essentially, he's going to pick 5 games for this coming week. He will always pick the Oklahoma game if there is an Oklahoma game. And yeah, so.
By the way, I want to give shout out to Schmitty because that dude has been, Schmidt has been unbelievable. Talk about coming back.
Yeah, a guy that lost his job was called upon this year because our other kicker had his appendix taken out. So put that in the injuries too for the offense. And he's come back and he showed out and he's been confident and he hasn't been shaky and good for him. Good for him, truly. And I hope he keeps making me say holy Schmidt from kicking really good field goals.
And so just waiting, trying to get the video to pull up. It's loading right now, but I think that it's an interesting time whenever the kicker's injuries aren't even. It's not like even a leg injury. It's just an appendix. It's just unlucky.
What good is it for, anyways? Besides just a burst. I'm not a doctor, so please don't take my word for that. There
are some interesting changes, I think, though, that they're going to make, especially offensively.
By the way, our punter, fabulous. Speaking of kickers.
Okay, I think it's ready.
All right, so here are Zenos.
Let's go. That was actually really T made that, by the way. That was actually really good. It's hilarious.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed a little bit of small pocket beagle-ness. We did not tell him what to choose. I just recorded it and let him do his thing. Little mad. He has no faith in Oklahoma, but I guess whatever. But funny thing about the Ohio State one is he actually did get 2 takes on this one, but that was director error. I forgot that with the program that I'm using, I have to record like horizontally instead of vertically. So we would like to show you that outtake of him choosing Ohio State. Again, it's probably loading quickly, but no, he just got 1 take for each one. Those are his picks and he stands by them. We will give you an update next week on how he does.
Check this.
Get it. Get it. Sorry.
That's wild.
He totally faked out Indiana. He was like, nope. But unfortunately I couldn't use that in the video. But
yeah. Well, we've been going for over an hour. We wanted to try to go for about an hour and we did it.
Talk about other sports.
T's going to have a couple updates on other sports around.
Yeah, can we take off that banner?
And then we're good to go.
All right. So obviously we are towards the end of football season, but there are other OU sports that definitely need our support. Both men and women's basketball are off to hot starts, both 3-0. I'll talk with women's basketball first. I really love Jenny B. She is an incredible coach, and I'd adore her. I think she's awesome. They have added Reagan Beers this year, and she has been phenomenal. She was 1 rebound away in the last game from getting her 3rd double-double of the year out of 3 games. Do the math. And so she was a great addition to Skylar Van, Soraya Williams, and of course we have Lexi Keys as a good shooter as well. So the women are going to be another fun watch. So please tune into the women playing basketball. The men are also 3-0. They kind of worried me on Saturday. It kind of cut it to like a 5-point game and got a little nervous, but they ended up making the breakaway. Jalen Moore is averaging 23 points a game, and Kobe Elvis had a really good game on Saturday. He had 24 points. Sam Godwin's averaging double-digit rebounds. So the boys are off to a really good start as well, so they deserve our support. And if you can't make a game, that's okay. Watch it on TV. Cheer from your home. And then, of course, softball and women's gymnastics just signed the #1 classes for 2025. So hopefully that's the rich getting richer there, and that will be the gift that keeps on giving for those as well that I know many of you support. But other OU sports to love and adore, so please go out and do so. Anything else?
No.
All right. Well, we will have a post game after the Alabama game, so be looking for that, and we hope to see you guys soon.
Yeah.
Boomer.
Boomer sooner.